Live in Detroit from the Northwest campus of the Wayne County Community College District, the No BS News Hour presents Who Wants to Be Detroit's Next Mayor? Your moderators, Karen Dumas, James Dixon, and Charlie LeDuff. Tonight's sponsor, Michigan Enjoyer. It's a beautiful day. Your candidates for Detroit's next mayor: entrepreneur Jonathan Barlow, former chief of police James Craig, city councilman Fred Durhall III, businessman Joel Hashim, former city council president Santil Jenkins, pastor Solomon Kinlock Jr., attorney Todd Perkins, and current city council president Mary Sheffield. And now, your hostess with the mostest, Karen Dumas.
All right, good evening, everyone. I am Karen Dumas. I don't know if I'm the hostess with the mostest, but I'm certainly going to give you all that I have tonight. Thank you so very much for being here. Good evening and welcome. I'd first like to thank Wayne County Community College District, Dr. Curtis L. Ivory, Chancellor of Wayne County Community College District, and Campus President Farquan Ahmed, and their amazing teams for their hospitality this evening. Let's give them a round of applause, please. I'd also like to thank the candidates who made and honored their commitment to be here this evening. As you know, and we certainly want to thank all of you who are here. You care enough to show up, so thank you as well. Tonight is not a debate, it's a conversation. We have two candidates, and as you saw, the candidates drew a number upon their arrival to determine which panel that they are going to participate on. Each candidate has their own microphone. As questions are posed, we are asking the candidates to respond respectfully, succinctly, meaning keeping your responses brief, to the point, and make them substantive. We don't need the editorialization, no campaign speeches, no talking points. We want our residents to walk away with something meaningful tonight. Candidates are also asked to respond under the guise that there are indeed two Detroits. You know James David Dixon and Charlie LeDuff. Our first panelist, former Detroit Police Chief James Craig, businessman Jonathan Barlow. We've got Councilman Fred Durhall III. Is it the third or June? Okay, I always get it confused. And also businessman Jonathan. Get your first name, Joel Hashim. Thank you. Let's give our candidates a round of applause. And ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. I'm turning loose. Charlie LeDuff.
Good evening, gentlemen. Joe, what's with the clipboard? Put that down, no notes. Like, awesome. All right. And I want to see you mix with each other. I want to gauge your stature. It's men that want to run this town. It's a beautiful town out here. Okay, first question, one word answer. What is the budget for the city of Detroit this year, currently, right now?
2.7 billion raised to 3 billion.
General fund. Can you give me the general fund?
Don't know the general fund right now.
Sir?
We have a $3 billion budget here in the city of Detroit.
And the general fund, the discretionary portion is?
It's close to over 2.2 billion.
Sir?
I would agree with Councilman Fred Durhall.
Sir?
I was going to say 2.5 for the general and 3 billion for overall.
It's 1.5 billion for this year. A year ago, when we were in bankruptcy in 2014, the general fund was 1.11 billion. Adjusted for inflation, the budget's done nothing. So here's what's happening. This is from the city's chief financial officer's office. Next year, the budget will fall when you add in inflation. The year after that, it will be cut by $50 million. What we have coming up are Biden bucks running out, the pensions being restored. We have to pay for that. It's another 10%. Okay? The fire contract comes due next June. They've had a 1% cost of living adjustment since 2014. They've lost 30% of their retirement. They're going to want something. The police contract comes due in a year and a half. This fiscal year already, we're $25 million in the red. The state has reconfigured its budget because of falling revenues. The United States' credit rating was downgraded. What you gonna do? You're gonna cut jobs because you can't cut debt payments, you can't cut pensions. How are you gonna balance these books, gentlemen? Please.
I would, I would, first of all, focus on bringing in revenue into the city treasury. And Moody downgraded the rating, so this means not having any help from the federal government or the state government. We're going to have to find ways to bring in new revenue here into the city of Detroit.
Give me something specific.
So what I would do is focus on the sector of the economy, the quaternary sector of the economy, where we bring together research and development, where we bring in AI, where we bring in computer chip companies, where we bring in building concepts. All of these things we bring in because you have to build the foundation for the quaternary economy.
Gentlemen, we're going to be able to get that done in 6 months?
You know, I don't know about that. You know, my thought is the first thing I want to do as mayor, because I think it's important for all of you to know, where are we really at? I have called for in prior sessions that we should have a forensic, transparent audit, independent, so we know exactly where we are. I've seen reports that said we're about $300 billion shortfall right now. And you know, I came in during a time when the city was bankrupt. I understand the impact of that. Certainly, I have a soft spot in my heart for public safety workers. I have a soft spot for pensioners. But in order for us to do this, it's nice that we say, let's bring in businesses. But in order to attract businesses, then we have to do what? Part of my plan is I'm going to cut a bunch of this red tape off, because that's one of the things. You try to get small businesses. Look, there's 72 steps to open a restaurant in Detroit. By the time a person's made their initial investment, what happens? They're out of money.
I think Mayor Duggan might be reading your mail. He just tried to do that with, you know, some of the cutting the red tape. So, you know, so even so, you won't see the effect for some time.
I agree, but I will tell you that I'm committed to it. I have a plan. I don't want to go in a bunch of detail because somebody's going to say, oh, that's my plan. But I'll tell you this, it's called CityStat. Just like I had brought ComStat to the Detroit Police Department, I'm going to bring CityStat to the city of Detroit.
Well, I'll tell you, in 3 weeks, first of all, that plan is already going to be, part of that plan is going to be accomplished by council, because I just co-sponsored an ordinance to cut those steps, particularly for our restaurants here in the city of Detroit. That will allow them to open up faster. We're creating a fast track for it, and it will allow them to only have to apply for that license every 2 years. To answer your original question, we have to maintain what the status quo is. We've had over $827 million of ARPA funding here in the city of Detroit, and now we won't enjoy that type of funding going into the next fiscal year or our budget cycle. So we're not, okay, we're in a vulnerable state. And we see revenues starting to trend down, but we've got to stay the course. You're going to hear during the campaign folks talking about creating tons of programs. We're not going to be able to do that. We're going to be able to create some programs that are going to be helpful. But the money, but the revenues are trending down, but they also can go back up. Most of our surpluses have been due to an increase in income tax revenue that we've seen generated over the past few fiscal years, and now it's going down, but we expect it to remain flat per the May revenue estimating conference.
I've heard several, you know, two people mention revenue. And in government parlance, that means taxes, right? Taxes would have to go up.
Let's start here. Everything that they're talking about, if they could have did it, they would have done it. It's real simple for me. If you know how to get businesses in here, you know how, you know who to engage. We just had several mayors come in here over the last 24 hours. But let's draw a line between efficiency in the system and effectiveness. I don't care how many audits you run. If you can't create any rubric or report card for performance-based programming and departments, you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to just be auditing the hodgepodge of city government and departments that don't even talk to each other. So when it comes to whether or not We're going to instantly lower property taxes like some of our plans say. That won't work. You can't go in there day one and lower property taxes. And the bills that city council have passed have not provided any relief for the city. You need someone to be able to come in there day one and not only look at every department for what it is, but then look at the excess spending and the unnecessary spending and keep ARPA dollars compliant in order for us to have a federal relationship.
But let's put this where this is at. I don't think anybody's going to argue this. We got two different cities here. We got the downtown and we got the neighborhoods. That's right. And property taxes have been flat to negative because of so much deals downtown. So we're not going to bring any of that money back. So explain to me, if you would, how the hell this Rensen deal supposed to work when $100 million in cash from the people will go to the developers of a deal we don't even know about?
Not under my watch. And go ahead, Councilman, and then I'll come back.
He's in the room, so yeah, go ahead.
Definitely, I'm in the room, and again, that's where experience counts. So we talk about a couple things. First, having a financial audit. We have an audit, okay, almost every month here in the city of Detroit. I chair the Budget, Finance, and Audit Standing Committee, and again, I invite folks who are running for office, don't wait until you possibly get elected to learn what the city budget is, learn what the numbers are. Do it now. That is where you separate experience, okay, from folks who just want to have rhetoric. What I would say is we do have to grow our revenues here, and that question that you asked was about taxes, but it's most importantly about who you tax, okay, because we have a disproportionate tax system here in the city of Detroit. Property taxes are too high, and I'll give you an example. We have
highest in the country.
We've got, well, the highest in the country, but we have flat lot surfaces here in the city of Detroit. When people go down to the Tigers game or they go down to the Lions game, okay, those folks who own those lots are generating $2 to $3 million a year. They're paying one person, so we're not generating enough income tax from that person because it's not a job creator, but yet they pay about the same rate or lower than homeowners here in the city of Detroit.
But
so
the
no,
question
you can't
becomes
solve property
why?
taxes on day one.
But let's ask why, though. I mean, and I mean, and this is before you, while you're there. This is nothing new, and we have had these conversations about overtaxation. I know there may be some residents here who were overtaxed, and Duggan said, "Oh, we don't have any money, so you're just out of luck." But we know this, and yet nothing has been done about it.
What?
Go ahead, hold on. Go ahead. Yeah, now it's fixed.
Okay, good. Appreciate you, Brother Charlie. This comes down to whether or not we have an advocate in the office. There is no real advocate that's been elected probably in the last 12 to 15 years, ever since we were so dumbfounded and put Pew in. This comes down to, get this, everything that's being said right now is not said until elections time. And that's why we cannot go along with politics as usual in this day and time. Like, there's too much to risk. The next 25 to 50 years are sitting right in front of our eyes with this decision.
Chief,
You know,
Mr.
I
Rashid.
gotta say something. What hasn't been said, and they probably can't say it, but I will say it. This current administration had the good fortune of having a relationship with who? President Biden.
That's right.
Lots of funding from the federal government. Lots of funding. There's one candidate that will leverage the White House because we have. I said it.
Well, go ahead.
This is not about.
Go ahead. What do you got to offer? Go ahead.
He don't got nobody to call.
I don't have anyone to call. I think so. But what I'm saying is this is about Detroit. This is not about me. It's not about the White House. It's about being able to bring funds into the city of Detroit to support our city, period.
Sir?
Yes, sir. I called for.
Thank you.
I called for a forensic audit 3 years ago consistently, talking about taking the city budget departments to zero budgeting system so that we can cut the fat out of the budget, first of all. So I've been proposing that for a long time. But also I think it's very important for us to understand that we must build a foundation for a diverse economy. If we don't do that, this city will go under for so many reasons. We got obligation bonds also coming up. Those obligation bonds are definitely going to raise your real estate taxes. And so we also have to look at what we can do quickly to making sure that our city departments run efficiently. And I also can go to D.C. I have connections in the White House as well.
Let me give this to you.
But can I
Yeah, go-
answer Karen's
go ahead, yeah.
question really quick? While posing a question, you're a reporter, right?
Yeah.
You're a reporter or a writer, a journalist, columnist, expertise? Here's my thing. I know nothing about being a reporter. And what we're talking about is running a city government with over 30 departments, $3 billion budget, okay, here in the city of Detroit. And we say we can't do things as usual. In some ways, that's right. But you've got to have the experience to be able to move the needle. Some say if we could have done it, it would have already been done. Here's the thing. This is the answer to your question. The reason why property taxes are too high here in the city of Detroit because the state as a whole is too dependent on property taxes since 1994 and Prop A and the Headley Amendment. We thought that would help grow our population here and help generate more revenue. And in exchange for that, we were supposed to get revenue sharing.
You're doing
which
the
we
land.
haven't
You're
gotten
doing the
our fair
land
share.
value. You're doing the land value tax. I did the math. It doesn't work. What it does is it lowers the taxes for the guys that own skyscrapers.
Well, here's the thing, Charlie.
That's what it does.
It's not the land value tax. Here's the thing. The component of our comprehensive tax plan is to lower 19.5 mills. When that
Wait. No. Don't tell me hold on. I tell you to hold on. You can refer them to your website. We're not going to do that.
Go
ahead.
Charlie, this is what it comes down to. They say you need experience in government, but this is a CEO position. That means that you come to the job every day with the values of the people, ready to make the hard decisions that need to be made in order for us to keep this ship afloat. Nobody in this whole candidate panel or forum or the candidates in the race, nobody comes with that experience, but probably me, Joe, and maybe Rogelio. None of them have been CEOs. None of them come ready to change departments, make them communicate more, put performance-based things in place. None of them understand that. And that's why they run off, they give you stats that they policy people gave them, and they give talking points when it's election time, and they're not willing to go to the root of the problem. Listen, community innovation hubs and one-stop business centers in our community will start to fast-track all businesses coming in. We extend the homeless prevention, let me just get 15 seconds. You extend the homeless prevention program, make sure that the land bank is tying into it so that we get investors and developers that are legacy Detroiters making homes and shelters for the people who are falling through the drains and falling through the cracks in order to start to incentivize them and get other employees coming back into the city so we make Detroit community again.
All right, let's do this. Let's do this. There's a lot of, everybody here is the CEO of a household, okay? The city is a collection of these companies.
Exactly.
The people are getting eaten alive by the utilities. The water bill going to go up 6%. Utility just went up 5%. They want another 11%. You as the mayor have the bully pulpit. What can you do to get these electric and water companies under control and serving the people?
What I will do as mayor of the city of Detroit, the first thing I'm going to do is to look at what's going on with Great Lakes Water Authority. Why?
What's going on with that?
They don't know. Well, they're not over there.
We're talking about the city of Detroit losing an asset. Great Lakes Water Authority has made over $5 billion since they took it in 2016, and now they only give Detroit $50 million a year. If that is not boiling your veins. So as mayor, the first thing I'll do is address that issue with those municipals, including Livonia, that have cheaper water rates in the city of Detroit. So if we don't look up and start taking our assets back, because $1 billion a year could do a lot for our Detroit City retirees, it can do a lot for our homeless and for our poverty.
Councilman, you talked about the Biden bucks, like 800+ million, and you said we have to maintain what the status quo is. At the time, we were told that this was generational money. It was going to change people's lives. It's going to change trajectories. What is the ultimate effect of the Biden bucks in Detroit?
It has been a tremendous effect. Obviously, we would want it to extend further than it already has. But you look at some of the funding that what we've utilized here over the past few years with ARPA dollars. We have revitalized close to 80% of our parks. We created a community violence intervention program that we're sending folks into the neighborhood to drive crime down. We invested $10 million into that. We've invested over $1 billion into affordable housing, and some of that money came from ARPA funding. It's not enough, right? And so when we talk about budgeting and maintaining the status quo, first thing we've got to understand is one of the ways that we got the money in the first place is that a lot of people died. Okay, and a lot of retirees too. To Mr. William Davis, I know that's him. He comes down to council every week. But the point is when you're looking at that funding's not coming back. So you have to take what you have. And yes, you have to look at what's efficient. What's the efficacy of these programs? Are they operating? Are we ensuring that we don't have too many programs that do the same thing and create a collaboration in those departments so the communication is even tighter? So when we talk about how we move forward and we know where we are right now, let's be fair, okay? We're not going to get a lot of help from the federal government. And that's a fact. I don't care who you are. You're not going to get a lot of help from the federal government. So you are going to also have relationships
Hasn't he gone a little bit long?
in lands.
No,
you're going to have relationships.
So you're being executive. Go ahead.
Let's talk about experience. Look, the mayor's, the governor's job, the president's job, first and foremost priority is safety of the people. Let me tell you something. We should not understate that, because when you look at my background as someone who has executive leadership experience, crisis management experience, look, it's not the if, it's when a crisis is going to occur. Let's talk about New Orleans. New Year's Eve, tragedy struck, terror attack, and the mayor and the police chief stood there, didn't know what to say or do. Los Angeles wildfires, biggest wildfires in many, many years. The mayor didn't know anything. It is important to have a leader. This is not a job training program.
Hey, okay.
I talk about Detroit. Let's talk about 20. No, I'm not done yet. Let's talk about Detroit. 2020. 2020. Did you see all the cities that were burning up around
I got
the
you.
country?
Let's shift to another.
Let me give you this one, all right? Let me give you this. Last financial question. What the hell is the Riverfront Conservancy? Who owns that? Is that the city's property? Whose is it?
So let me hit all 3 points. Let me hit your water, let me hit this public safety, and then let me bounce back to the Riverfront in 30 seconds. Okay, this is what it is.
Right there.
This is what it is. Gary Brown and Mike Duggan got together and separated the budget for water from the budget of the city. Did he not? Correct? Gary is over there operating on his own island with his own rules.
The Great Lakes. So here again.
Listen. Before you say it, Fred, you got to remember my mom was HR director under Gary. So trust me, I know more of what Gary did than I let on to. Listen. I'm being nice to everybody about everything that's going on. But let me touch this: the Riverfront project. All the council members got on the stage during the State of the City. Duggan said, "I'm giving everything over to Dan Gilbert," and everybody clapped. That is insane to me. That is totally insane to me. But even more so, get this. If you go back to that back table, when you see the flyers that I have out, it's about high drainage fees, because the water department cannot continue to put high drainage fees and act like it's just okay and everybody is suffering. Legacy Detroiters are being pushed out, and it cannot happen anymore. And to public safety and to the White House, listen, again, if you can make the calls, call them now and get them to make a pledge and make them to do something. If not, then understand this. The crisis is right in front of us. I got Pingree Park being pretty much in
30 seconds.
Pingree Park, I got the community and a youth football team battling over the park because the city nor the city council will come and provide conflict resolution.
Okay. Cut.
I wanted to ask about population, but I want to ask something different, if that's okay, because we keep talking about legacy Detroiters, and while Duggan was losing the game, he said he wanted to be judged on an increase in population. He was losing the game, and true to his nature, he changed the rules. So he challenged it. The methodology was changed, and so 12,000 people rightfully appeared on paper. But nobody's talking about the 40,000.
6,000.
6,000. Okay, the 40,000 people that, many of whom are undocumented immigrants. Like, let's talk about that. But let's also acknowledge that more than 40,000 predominantly Black Detroiters have moved out of the city. So, two questions. One, probably more than 40,000. But let's talk a little bit about those people that moved. Why did they move? And what would you change to either keep them there, hold on, or reattract them? But I really want to talk about the two cities. Yeah, we've got Black people in this city have nothing. They have literally nothing in this city. I don't like going to the new places because I'm not made to feel welcome there. And I don't like that at all. Nobody loves this city more than we do. But hold on. I need more than parks. I need more than street names and murals on the side of and murals painted on the side of buildings that we don't own. We don't own anything, and we don't welcome anywhere. What can you do about that?
So to answer your question, okay, again, we talked about property taxes. You wonder why folks have moved out? Okay, the city of Detroit's property tax millage is over 80 mills. The closest city in population is Grand Rapids. They're a little bit over 40 mills. They're paying half of what we pay here in the city of Detroit. So it's difficult for folks to pay those property taxes when they're too high. The second thing is people move to neighborhoods for what? Because they are safe and they have good schools. Okay, so when we talk about schools here in the city of Detroit, and let's be honest, a lot of folks ship and have moved to Hazel Park. They moved to Oak Park. They moved to Southfield because they send their kids there for school. And let's not forget the high cost of car insurance here in the city of Detroit. But those are key components of why folks have moved out here.
You're a state representative. So,
exactly.
I'm just.
No, absolutely.
Hold on. I'm not trying to, the goal today is to bring out the reality of what we're dealing with in terms. This is an attack. We all know each other. This isn't personal. This isn't political. I live here. And I remember when it was time for us to buy a house, I was working for the mayor. And I said, I can't buy a house in West Bloomfield and tell people that Detroit is worthy. But I had to send my kids to private school. I got my car stolen. I pay high
Anybody
insurance.
here have kids in the
private
school
school.
system?
Yeah, do you have kids? And what school do they go to?
I have kids that go, and we send them to a private school. And here's the thing.
See that? See? Hey. Whoa.
No. Let me tell you this though.
No, bro.
No. Let me tell you this.
Let him listen. Let's talk.
Because here's the thing. There are two things that I've learned. Mm-hmm. There are two things that I've learned as an elected official.
Hold on. Let's listen, please.
Well, I don't have to necessarily explain myself, but what I'm telling you is.
And you don't.
No. Let me say this. There are two things. There are two things that I've learned as an elected official, but also a parent. Okay, a parent's choice is a parent's choice. And here's the thing. I am a proponent of public schools. Okay. And I've always fought for public schools.
And that's a great
transition. But the reality is
we have a 47. We still have and I don't hold on. I don't need you to.
No.
I don't want you to apologize to anybody.
I'm not apologizing either.
I got you for politicizing your children.
But what I would say is that speaks to the educational system.
Okay.
Mr.
I wish I could send my daughter to a public school in our
Fred.
neighborhoods that perform well.
I have a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old. My 13-year-old goes to Edison. My 16-year-old goes to Marygrove. Okay. So what I want to share is this.
And
we ask that you please let the candidates answer the questions respectfully.
I'm giving an answer. Now,
I would invite you to be up here, but you're not, so let the man speak.
What we need to do is bring back the population in Detroit. We know we need housing.
She wants a plan. How are you going to do it?
This is my plan. All right.
Simple.
I'm going to build a modular factory here in the city of Detroit. We have about 35 to 40 billion dollars that can go into the communities here in the city of Detroit. And I can give Detroit resident jobs.
Jonathan, let's hear your voice. Let's hear your voice.
So can I finish my plan?
Finish your sentence, brother. Brother Hashim, finish your sentence.
Okay, so now what we're talking about is how are we going to do it? I've spent over 23 years in building concepts. I know how to build quality homes at a reduced rate. What does that mean? It takes about $2 billion to build 10,000 homes. Detroit is short some 400,000. We know how to build those homes for less. Okay. One more thing. I know on this insurance issue, we probably have close to about 800,000 residents in Detroit, and this is why. I know at least 20,000 people myself that have an outside address so they can get cheaper insurance rates. So we do have a population here. So what we need to do is look at all of these variables and figure out how to do it. I can mass produce the housing.
Can we go back to the education thing, though, because we kind of a little bit.
Jonathan.
Listen. Legacy Detroiters looks like that lady over there. Raise your hand, Laura. That's a Legacy Detroiter. Daniel, raise your hand back there. Daniel, y'all see Daniel puts in too much work at the Detroit Historic Development Corporation. Dean, stand up. This is a Legacy Detroiter. This is a veteran that comes back, gives free electricity services, but continues to work a job and drive the DOT bus system. Let me say that. Hold on. We're all. What I'm trying to say is I hear you, Brother Charles. I hear you loud and clear. Hold on, Charles. You was next. I'm coming. This is. Let me be very frank with you. We're overlooking families. We're overlooking communities. The highlights and what's being broadcasted from the city and the city council is fluff. The programs do not work. Half of the money is gone by the time Detroiters are getting there.
All the money's gone.
All the money is gone. They send you down.
There is a pot of money you might know about. Biden gave it to the city of Detroit January 8th. It's $347 million. It's for the flooding. You remember the flood of a lifetime? We had a flood of a lifetime in 2014. We had a flood of a lifetime twice in 2016. We had the flood of a lifetime in 2019, one in 2020, two in 2021 because the pumps didn't work, another in 2023, and nothing's getting fixed.
And that's my whole point of pointing those out that we overlooked just in this recent flood in Southwest. This is the thing. Ms. Dumas, you asked a question about retaining talent. You know exactly. Thank you.
Well, why can't?
Thank you very much.
And that's my whole point. Let me answer this last question about retaining talent. Ms. Dumas, we have to know where our people went and what opportunities they were exposed to, and to be able to recreate those opportunities right here in the city. I tell people over and over and over again, if we don't see people and meet them where they are, then we're going to continue to lose families. My plan is very simple. There's an 11-page plan that you can download from any flyer that's going to be passed out. There is a plan in place. It's called Reach Every Family. I'm going to bring the most money, jobs, and homes to the city, and I'm going to make sure that affordable housing becomes affordable because it's unaffordable. I'm going to get these tax fees on your property taxes, the interest fees lower. I'm going to get the drainage fees lower, and I'm going to make sure that we start to come together and every stakeholder is at the table. Half of the problems are we keep on overlooking them because nobody wants to bring them to the table.
Guys, we talk about the two Detroits thing, and I think we have to talk about crime also because I think there's nothing that's more emblematic. Like, most of the crime affects the poor black Detroiter and not the rich white Detroiter. What can be done to not only make Detroit safe, but make it feel safe. We'll start with the chief.
And I like that question, and I won't be long because that's what I did for the last 8 years. I came into the city at a time where crime was ravaging. We know that first year we had 800 carjackings as an example. When we launched Greenlight Detroit, and worked with businesses in the community, my last year, those carjackings went down to 200. This is about relationships in the community. Because what I also know, if you have good working relationship with the community, that's going to drive crime down. Because what I do know, the police department recently talked about, it's wonderful. We had the lowest homicides since the 60s. Well, guess what was different in the 60s? Detroit was 1.5, 1.6 million. We had 6,000 police officers. So when we wave a flag like that, the perception of crime is high. And the way you lower the perception of crime, you set the tone, you reduce crime, and you, in a very transparent way, you talk with the community. That's what you do.
Also, I think what's very important when you're dealing in crime is that we understand, first of all, the resources that they're supposed to put in the community, they never do it. That's number one. So what we need to do is make sure that we put those resources, because when people have money, when you have economic development and the people have money in their pockets, crime will go down. We also need to address the returning citizens, making sure that they have occupational wage jobs and careers. That goes back to the fact that I've done 15 trade delegations. I did 3 of those delegations for Wayne County. 2 to China, 1 to the Middle East. And I'd like to share this. Billions of dollars came as a result of those trade delegations when we took 34 corporations out of Detroit, GM being one of them. Also on this water scenario, we need to talk about Great Lakes.
I understand. We understand people are frustrated, and this is just a frustration that Detroiters feel. But let's hear from the candidates.
And Great Lakes Water Authority has spent over $800 million on the infrastructure in the suburbs, and they have not spent nowhere near that amount here in Detroit.
Councilman, if we could circle back to you, because people had a bad reaction to you having kids in private school, but I think this is a big part of Detroit's problem, which is that if I move to Detroit right now, I need to be rich because I need to be able to send my kid to private school. Or I can't, or I'm one of the poor Detroiters who has to go to a neighborhood school. It's a problem. It makes people buy that house in Livonia instead. Talk about how you navigate it. Talk about how you fix it.
It's a huge problem. So the first thing I said, I'm not going to apologize to where I send my daughter. Because if you're any type of a parent, you want the best opportunity for your kid possible. So I'll say that. My daughter started out in Montessori school, so we kept a level of consistency. But what I will say is, do I wish, particularly when the invoice comes for my daughter, that I can send her to a public school? Hell yes, I do.
Well, what's your take on the
But what I would
public
say
schools?
is the issue for Detroit
Detroit
public schools.
Detroit
Hold on.
deserve-
All right.
We're not talking crime right now. Hold on.
Yeah, we're
Talking
talking.
about the schools.
So
Fred,
when
hey,
about the
Fred,
schools.
no, Fred. No, I'm not letting you do it.
No,
We're
no.
not talking
Bro,
school,
bro.
and you're not going to change it. We're asking a question.
Look at
They
it.
want to hear the
and
answer.
we are. And
You
we
got
are,
you got
and we
caught
are
up with your
answering.
daughter in the school. That's the way that
and-
goes.
and we are answering.
Again, please.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, there's no good gauge of crime. For instance,
Thank you.
in the last decade, 10% of the homicide victims never show up on the docket. They're erased. The response times, the emergency calls, they're adding in traffic stops.
Exactly.
Everybody knows this.
And I tell people,
There's no database that the people can go to in real time. When are you going to level with the people about what crime is?
the city website doesn't even get updated properly.
No, it doesn't. It's the only big city in America.
So let's be real about it. You need
Are you going to
someone-
fix that as
I'm
mayor?
the only one who understands technology.
Will you
and can-
fix that as mayor?
That's the first thing I'm
Will
fixing.
you fix that as mayor?
But
Absolutely.
But
Will
let me-
you fix that as
We
mayor?
will, yes, and increase
Yes,
transparency.
sir. Yes,
they just
sir.
lied because they don't know how. So let me tell you what's going on. Let me tell you what's really going on.
They could hire you.
They could hire me, but they only call me when it's time to fix their problems. That's what I do for a living. I fix their problems. Now, this is what it really is. When it comes to education, none of them worked at Spain. None of them worked at Central. None of them worked at Durfee. None of them have been watching the teachers since they had to start to get fingerprinted in the schools. I've done all that. I've coached basketball at Renaissance and UPrep. So I know charter to public, and ultimately, it's the cornerstone of family and community, and safety does not change unless we get year-long youth employment, make other opportunities for our families, and ensure that civic engagement stays at an all-time high. I'm going to say this last thing, and then I'll let you go. I'll let you go after this.
We're going to go like this. We're going to let you finish, and Fred, and Joe.
In order for public safety to take place, it needs to be preventive, and it needs to be accountable. And the accountability starts with data. And it starts with creating a data system and a sourcing of data and the transparency of data. And the only way that you can do that nowadays is through blockchain technology. And none of them understand it. None of them. And that's how we're going to be able to fix the problem.
Fred.
So
thank you.
This is a first through all our forums. I would say I agree with Jonathan on one thing, and that is the data. We have to create, just like they've done in other states like Minnesota, individualized learning plans for each child. But you can't wait till they get to the 9th grade. You have to start earlier. There's a direct correlation between 3rd grade reading rates and people that come in contact with our criminal justice system. And most of them that do don't read above a 3rd grade reading level or have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. So you got to get to these kids at an earlier age, develop a learning plan for them, not just if they're special ed, not just if they're considered EI or impaired. You have to get and create that path for them, because each child does not learn the same.
Mayors have historically treated the school system like a hot potato. They don't want to touch it.
They are scared of it. They've never been in it. They don't understand what our teachers are dealing with. They don't understand how the parents can't work 2 or 3 jobs and get their kids from latchkey and get them to a youth program. There has to be support. The community and our pastors who hold out their hand every time it's election time got to get to the table, and so that we can do this thing collectively. It does not go turn around with one person.
We're running out of time. I want to make sure.
Go ahead.
I
have 18 grandchildren, went through Detroit Public Schools, and I have 2 children currently.
Okay.
I think we need to look at this for real. It does not matter whether they're in public school or charter school. If they're in the city of Detroit, they're all of our children. So what we need to do is make sure that we take out of that budget.
Detroit does not
so
public schools. The state does.
I understand that, and that's what I'm getting ready. What I'm going to share with you is this. That will allow us to take something from our city budget to partner with Detroit Public Schools and our private schools. Because what we are not doing is putting those resources there. Now let's keep it real. Tax abatements. We're giving people 30 and 35 years, no taxes. They're not paying anything into our schools. They're not paying anything into our libraries. So this is where the problem is, people.
I think, if I might, in this town too much, the children come last.
They always do.
Always.
Charlie, they always do. And that's why I brought up the issue over at Pingree Park. There is no reason in the world that you have a community that surrounds Pingree Park and you have a youth sports team that they're right now at odds on how to use that space. We should be able to find a whole nother place for that sports team and let that community do what they need to do. But the city isn't intervening quick enough. And it's been going on for 3 years.
Chief, you know what? I agree with just about everything everyone said, but here's the elephant in the room no one wants to talk about. Number one, we have a superintendent that came in 2013. The needle has not moved. When we talk about reading levels in the 3rd grade, would it surprise anybody to know that by the time a child gets in the 3rd grade, they must be able to read, because by the time they get in the 4th grade, they have to read to learn. In Detroit, when I was running for governor, it was 8%. They said, well, it's better now. Oh, it's 11%. Mississippi did it right, a poorer state than Michigan. And we're talking about in communities of color. So what I'm suggesting is, yes, the mayor doesn't control the schools. I get that. Yes, we should partner with the school district. And most importantly, we need to support the teachers. We need to support the teachers. Because here's what I know. When the morale is down, I don't care what industry we're talking about, and this is where leadership comes in. When the morale is down with the teachers, they're not very good with the students. When police officers' morale is down, guess what? You have 1 hour response time to 911 calls for service. Or you have a 11% clearance rate to homicide. So my point is, we can do a better job. And look, this is about all of you. This is about the parents who live all across the city. You deserve to be able to send your children to a Detroit public school, period.
But it's about communication as well. So what they talked about is this. The reason why it's broken, everybody operates in their own individual silos.
Speak, please.
But we know that the mayor is not responsible for. Hold on, the mayor is not responsible. We get that, but I believe that attitude and performance are a reflection of leadership, and I believe that the mayor can and should set the tone.
And set a tone.
Hold on, let me say this too, because I think the attitudes toward education have changed over the decades. Once upon a time, people came from the South. They didn't have high education, but they had a high value of education. But now everybody makes money off of people not knowing. You've got pastors that own schools. You've got all these people that benefit from people being illiterate. We still have a 47% illiteracy rate in this city that has not changed, and that is an impediment to development. That's an impediment to population. That's an impediment to crime. How do you tie all that together?
So how you tie it together is this.
For a solution.
Because you just said what the issue is. Everybody, again, like I said, is operating in their own silos. The charter schools do one thing. Public schools do one thing. The teachers have an idea of what needs to be fixed. Our board does as well. And then you have the superintendent. We are going to bring all of those stakeholders to the table and have feedback. And as mayor, I'm not finished, John. As mayor, you set the tone of this. You're talking, and everybody's talking about growing this city. If we don't have folks who are educated, who are going to be here in the future, okay, who can be part of that workforce, it's not going to be possible. So what you have to do is you bring and create a commission. You bring everybody to the table. And when we talk about this individualized learning plan, when we talk about creating apprenticeship readiness programs and putting skilled trades into school, when you talk about even students who may want to be entrepreneurs, we've got to spark their minds at a younger age.
If I could simplify,
and we're not reaching.
If I could simplify things, I mean, Blue Ribbon Commission. How do we get kids in Detroit reading?
That's why I shared that the city's resources should be utilized. After we sit down, we've got all these universities within, 10, 15 miles of Detroit. And so now we need to take the resources from our $3 billion budget, if necessary.
It doesn't work that way.
Hold on.
We just did that. We had, please.
My bad, bro.
We had a $250 million demolition money. And the priority was to do it around schools. My wife is a psychological counselor on the east side. Dope houses right across the street, junkies walking all over the place, and the dirt thrown in the hole was poison. No one will address it. So whatever happened to safe way to school, and all the children get disrespected that are around here?
Charlie.
That deals with our community development.
That has to do with City Hall.
And City Hall.
Charlie, there are 33 abandoned schools here in the city of Detroit. Right? Okay, so here's the thing. City of Detroit owns 18, DPS owns the rest. Yeah. So it's not just the city.
Right.
But what the issue is first of all, how it was created was lack of state funding. Somebody said it from the crowd that the city doesn't control the schools, the state does. When we talk about on state level, traditionally what has happened, we used to spend $7,800 per pupil. That's the per pupil allocation, right? Yep. Now, in other jurisdictions, municipalities, the average floats around $12,000. And what you see is the income gap and the disparity. Folks here, the AMI here, folks are lucky if they're making over $28,000 and you go to Birmingham, the average income is about $100,000. What I'm saying is the state has to level, keep leveling the playing field
yield,
and create that funding.
Jonathan, pay their fair share. we would have money from these tax abatements. We've got to stop these corporations from getting the tax abatements. They need to pay something for our children and grandchildren.
Jonathan, please.
Go on, John. Wow. Wow. Now he's fit.
Listen here. I can't do this no more. This is crazy. This is very crazy. I can't be part of the insanity. Let me say this, because I keep on hearing the same rhetoric, and then every time I say something, you all come back, double down on what I said, and then ultimately try to fix the situation and fit a plan that you all have never presented. This is what it comes down to, because you're going to hear a whole nother panel that is going to give you some more blah, blah, blah.
Last question.
Leadership starts before you get in position.
Okay, thank you.
Hold on.
No, thank you. Thank you. No. She laid out the ground rules. No pontificate. Sit down. Come on.
Charlie.
No,
I'm not pontificating.
Dude, I got a thing that's going.
Let's
see the clock.
Charlie.
See the clock?
I just had one point.
Do you see the clock?
We
got to
you
get to it.
Charlie.
Hold on. We got to respect the time because we have a second panel. The other candidates are next. So I understand, Jonathan. This isn't
Finish the
personal.
point.
We gotta do the time. So I'm gonna change the tone just a little bit.
Last question.
We're gonna do the last question.
Real quick.
Quality. Let's get quality of character here. If your name was not on the ballot for this election for mayor of the city of Detroit,
One word answer, please.
who out of the candidates would you vote for?
One word answer.
Let's start here and move over, Mr. Harsin.
Understanding that Detroit,
Just one word.
One
Who would you
word.
vote for?
all right, is a business. It'd be
No.
another businessman.
Hey, look, see that?
Who?
Jonathan, you just got an endorsement and you weren't even watching. He would vote for you.
I already, bro, 3 or 4 of them will already vote for me.
okay.
I already know where the names are coming
Okay,
from.
that's too many words.
So you said Jonathan Barlow. Councilman Durhal, who would you vote for? Not just here, but out of the candidates that are on this from the ballot.
Can I write myself in?
No, you're not on the ballot. Hey, wait a minute. You can ready to try
That's good.
You know what I would say is
One word.
one word?
Okay,
Who?
one word. Undecided.
No, there is no Duggan. There is no undecided. Who would you vote for? Jonathan, if you're a resident and you have to vote and choose from the candidates,
I need
one
a name.
word,
That's a tough question.
but it should
But
be
what
one you should
I would
answer.
say is
One word.
I'm gonna give it to you. Hold
Yeah,
on.
but after a lot
It's
of other
actually
words.
2 words. It's a first and a last name.
Come on.
Santil Jenkins.
All right. What about you,
Santil.
Jonathan?
1%.
Jonathan, one word. Who?
And you said I got to pick.
You vote, don't you?
Yeah.
I vote.
Okay, who would you
Yep.
vote for?
One word.
Fred told me to say Fred.
Fred. Okay, Fred got one.
No, but on a
One word, Jonathan. Who
one-
would you vote for?
I can work with Fred.
Okay.
There
Chief?
you go.
One word. Write in for Karen Dumas.
No way. Ladies and gentlemen, how you all gonna boo me?
Hey,
All right.
You let him off the hook, Karen. You
That's
can't
all
do
right.
that.
Miss
Yes.
Dumas. This is honest.
Chief, we need a real name.
What
Whoa,
I
we
just
need a
want to
name.
say.
We need a name, Chief.
I need a name.
We need a name.
The gentleman on the end.
Mr.
Joel
Hudson.
Hasim gets one.
What's his name?
All right, now wait,
Businessman
no.
on the end.
Thank you. Give him a round of applause, please. That was spirited.
The first panel.
What you want?
The first
What you
panel.
want? Look happy, man. You did good. Okay, we are going to change panels. I want you to know that today is brought to you by the Michigan Enjoyer. This, if you look at the back wall, this is some of the work we do, and Pastor Charles Brooks is with us. He's the mayor of the East Side. Please watch.
They have literally taken my home.
In our story, this is David.
Oh, they're muscling you now
Yeah.
because you spoke up.
Yes.
And this is Goliath.
The mayor of the city of Detroit, Mike Duggan.
Some years ago, after being shot, Charles Brooks Jr. received an instruction from God. The Lord told Brooks that if he built it here, they would come.
I wanted to stay committed in the city of Detroit. And as the Lord blessed me and talked to me, I just branched out and started redoing the community.
And so the faithful servant cobbled together 7 lots and built this, the castle. It is only 10 miles from downtown Detroit, but light years away. Brooks has one house on his estate left to fix. He began the work, as you can see, but then fell ill. Unsatisfied, the mayor of Detroit, Mike Duggan, sued Brooks in court without telling Brooks.
I have a right to due process.
Brooks found out the city had put a lien on his property, but only when the summons server showed up.
I'm not going to apologize for a tool the city of Detroit used to get rid of countless abandoned houses.
That's not abandoned. That's not abandoned. You all know that's not abandoned.
The mayor's men claim they tacked a blight notice on the rear property back in November. Brooks said he never saw any notice, and one wonders how the inspector could scale a 7-foot piked fence.
So they're going to war with you just because because you didn't clean that up and they never told you to clean it up. I looked it up. You've never been issued a blight ticket for it.
The city and Brooks came to an agreement this past weekend. Brooks has 180 days to get permits, utilities, and tenants. Otherwise, the city will take his land.
It's a beautiful thing here. What is being done, it shows a lot of unity.
Also this weekend, a small miracle of social media happened. The neighborhood came to help Brooks because they consider him to be their true mayor.
This is our answer that the community came out here and helped me answer.
The community showed up to help, and they're gonna fuck his brand new shoes up.
And one wonders why the city's so troubled about Brooks anyhow, when the city's own properties, bordering each side of his Garden of Eden, are hulking hellscapes of filth and feral animals. And one wonders about this house on the city's north end.
Well, this lieutenant governor's old house, bought it from the city for 13 grand. Had 6 months to fix it up. He didn't. 2 years later, they let him sell it for $200,000 more or less and let him keep it. That ain't the rules. That's not a door. Where's the power meters? Dare me to put my tongue on it? Sure could use some walls and some wiring and some plumbing, and it could use a little brickwork. That's been sitting there for a year.
2,000 other property owners in the city didn't get that kind of treatment.
It looked like they'd done anything.
They got their property repossessed, not Gilchrist. He got to sell the building to a shell company from Miami. Who would pay that kind of money for a place with no walls or wiring or plumbing? How did the shell company even find out about it? The building was never listed for sale. And how come 6 years and a dozen blight tickets later, this shell company still gets to keep it? And oh yeah,
your taxes are delinquent.
So now Duggan and Gilchrist want to be your governor, and Charles Brooks Jr., the mayor of the East Side, wishes to be left alone to finish his castle. He'll do that, and then he plans to rehab the city's nearby house of horror into a trade school to uplift his people. That would truly be a miracle.
So remember, the new Detroit is a lot like the old Detroit. It's not what you are, it's who you know.
All right, everybody, right quick while we getting everything together, we have a special guest in the house. As of last night months, I want to give it up for Mr. Pastor Charles Brooks, owner of the East Side Castle over there off of Chalmers. And we here today with you. We all kind of ain't heard nothing in a minute. What's going on with you, the city, and the house right now?
Ain't nothing going on. We got the victory. We defeated the devilish land bank, the mayor, the city, the whole 9 yards. So we're moving forward, continuing to do our part and rebuild the city.
All right, in the process of getting everything together, I know the city was giving you a little bit of trouble. Did anybody come in and help you guys out? What happened? What went on with that?
What we want to do, give big shout out to the Detroit Police Department, our own Detroit Police Chief Todd Bettison, Ray Winans, and the actual community that came out and helped us in the initial stages to help with what needed to be done on Chalmers, because the mayor and the devilish Detroit Land Bank literally took my home.
So going forward, while we doing this here as a resident of the city of Detroit, what would you like to see right quick, real quick, get tightened up in the city and doing business?
Well, one of the things, since we heard the first half of the debate, it's not one thing that I heard from none of the four candidates about the community and the people. That's how we rebuild our city. That's how we drive the population back up. It's about the people and the city of Detroit and the community. So that's what we need to hear. And we also need to hear from someone that's going to serve the people.
All right. Again, Mr. Pastor Charles Brooks, we glad you got to keep your home. I've personally been by there, live on the east side. I love it. It's a landmark of what Detroit is really about. We built tough, we keep building, and we going to keep on growing. Thank you, Mr. Brooks. All right, we about to get to the second half of this debate started. Right quick again. I know these are very passionate topics, but we're here to hear answers. And when you yell over a candidate's answer, you're robbing someone else from the opportunity to hear the answer. So please, be respectful of the candidates. They took the time out to come here for us. And be respectful to your fellow Detroiters that's here for the same thing.
This is the people's debate, so the people deserve to hear what the representatives are going to do for them, all right? But I like your attitude. I thought that was good. That was a nice, good hour.
I thought it wasn't a debate.
Let's do the second hour, Karen.
It's not a debate. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming again, and thank you for sticking around. Our second panel has been seated. Our second panel from your left to the right is Attorney Todd Perkins. Sontil Jenkins, former Detroit City Council President and CEO of THAW. We have, in addition, Danetta L. Simpson, who is on the ballot. I guess you're taking the seat that was abandoned by the other candidate, but Danetta L. Simpson.
He's out of town. The minister is out of town.
All
That's
right.
right. He's way up there in Oakland County at his mansion.
All right, and we have Detroit City Council President Mary, and Detroit City Council President Mary Sheffield. And with that, I will turn it over to Charlie LeDuff, and guys, we understand your support, but we're here to hear from the candidates. So let's take that time. No, I'm not saying it's you. I'm just asking everybody. Let's go. Charlie, take it from here.
Okay, I was going to hit you with the budget questions first, but I can't because you can't hear? Okay. I want to address what Charles Brooks was talking about, which is the land bank. And everybody in this city is angry at the land bank. And we don't know how many of those holes are poison or why the demolition contracts are $40,000 or what the children are breathing in next to them. So what are we going to do about the land bank? Are we funding it? Are we getting rid of it? What's the strategy?
Well, we're going to revise the land bank because the land bank right now, it doesn't talk about and serve the people of the city of Detroit. It is a community land trust. And when you understand community, that is about the people, as Reverend Brooks said. And it doesn't look like that today. And since it doesn't look like that, there's no reason to destroy it because it does serve a purpose. It's just not serving the purpose for the people right now. It serves developers. I have clients who I provide pro bono services because of the fact that they can't afford to deal with the land bank and all the notices that they get and all the time requirements that they get, that some big developer, they can buy themselves out of that. And that's what that purpose is for. We have thousands of parcels of property, and they tend to pick on people that they feel they can. And one of the individuals in this room fought back, and he won. I intend to do that for all of our citizens, and that's what I believe with the land bank.
So really quick, I want to address the land bank. Just really quick. So years ago, I created or submitted a memo to start the process of how we would dismantle the Detroit Land Bank Authority. That was years ago. Because I thought it was important with the numerous calls, concerns that we get. This is probably the #1 issue that City Council receives calls about is the holding of property, the lack of accountability and transparency with being able to purchase side lots, to be able to redevelop land. And so my viewpoint now in as mayor would be to bring as many properties that we have left back in-house to the city planning department and keep the land bank for some of its legal authorities, as attorney mentioned, because they do have legal rights that they can use. But the majority of the acquisition and disposition of properties will come back internally into planning and development. We also have to be more creative and ensure that we're creating more programs for Detroiters to access properties and develop properties here in the city of Detroit. We have tons of vacant properties, and we have an issue of homelessness. How come we're not creating programs where we can allow for people to purchase homes and become homeowners here in the city of Detroit? So I think we have to be innovative in our approach and the policies. I would change policies to ensure that there's greater access and more preference for Detroiters to get access to that property and to the land as well. Already doing it. So
nobody should be surprised at how the land bank turned out. It is why I was against the land bank in the first place. When they had 400 properties, they weren't being managed and resourced right. So why would we turn around and give them thousands of properties when they weren't properly managing hundreds? So now people are saying, let's fix it. We shouldn't have given them over to the land bank in the first place. It took away the transparency that happens in city government. The reason property had to go to, prior to the land bank, the reason properties had to go to city council to be approved, because it's the people's property. It was the people's property, and the people deserve to have transparency on every transaction on things that they own.
Danetta, where you at with this?
We should have never given it away. And so now that it's been the land bank has been created.
So are you going to get rid of it as the mayor?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I
sort
feel.
of.
Yeah, I would love to, as much as possible,
sort of.
transition all of the properties back
no.
in-house.
I say no as well.
And use it for its legal.
Wait a minute.
Are you asking me or
No,
okay,
her
okay.
now.
Okay. What I'm saying about the land bank is I wouldn't get on it, but get rid of it. But there's some I's and ears, some I's need to be dotted and some T's need to be crossed. Okay, they do need to change policy. They need to have
the thing had a 7-year federal investigation with a grand jury.
Yes.
And we never got an answer. Are you all committed to randomly sampling those holes where that poison dirt was thrown in?
Yes.
Absolutely.
We never got one.
Absolutely. And let me tell you this.
That could be hundreds of millions of dollars.
Let me say this. I'm not talking about doing something and writing a memo that was years ago and when I'm in a seat of power. I'm talking about taking the reins day one and doing it right away so that people can see transparency, people can see that I'm honest, and all those investigations, no matter what it costs, the people deserve to know.
Let me just say, though, in response to that, though, City Council, we have recently, over the years, drastically reduced our revenue to the Detroit Land Bank Authority. This year, we completely eliminated our revenue, right? Programs have been created, and I have been one of the strongest opponents to the Detroit Land Bank Authority, and will continue to do so.
How much damage has been done? How much damage has been done?
Now we're gonna do money, because the most important color in the city of Detroit is green.
Yes.
It's green.
Yes.
I forgot to say this in the interest of transparency. Mr. Perkins has been my attorney, but not tonight.
I don't expect you to pull any punches.
Not tonight.
Let's
I'll
go.
give this to you.
Let's go.
You want to be mayor?
I'm going to be mayor.
You want to handle the people's
I'm gonna
money?
be mayor. You understand that?
Tell me, sir, what the general fund budget is for this fiscal year.
So about $1.58 billion.
1.54.
Then it's about $3 billion with the other enterprise.
1.54. Do you know what it was 10 years ago in the depths of bankruptcy? 1.11. When you adjust for inflation.
Right.
Absolutely zero new revenue's been created with this bullshit miracle downtown. None. This is from the Chief Financial Officer's office. Next year we will lose revenue because of inflation. The year after that we will lose $50 million, not including inflation. The fire department's contract comes due next June. They have a 1% cost of living for the last 10 years. They've lost 30% of their retirement.
Right.
They want to get paid. The parking meter attendants make their 15, you like that lady, I did it, 15 stinking dollars. They're the ones that got a call for the stolen and abandoned cars now. They don't have guns. They're mad. We got contracts coming due. The state of Michigan's cutting their budget. The United States government's credit's been downgraded. And this thing, we're dying. What are you going to do about the money, sir?
Well, we're going to have it.
How are you going to bring revenue?
Let me tell you.
You're gonna lay people off?
We're also going to bring revenue to the neighborhoods, and that's everybody's saying. But I'm a little disappointed.
There's no money for the neighborhood.
Yes, there is. Let me finish. What no one has talked about, what no one talked about is in the past century, the greatest economic development process is going to happen in the city of Detroit, and Detroiters don't know about it, and nobody's taking a hand in it other than the elite. It's the filling in of I-375. That is a multi-billion-dollar advancement of income that's going to come here. No one has talked about that. No one. And it's a $300 million.
No one and put it into the neighborhood.
It's a 300. Hold on. It's a
By the way, ladies, just you can interrupt them.
It's a $300 million development. I'm going to see to it that those contracts are prioritized to Detroiters, Detroit contractors, Detroiters working on those. You know, I don't have to worry about
We've
DEI.
seen that happen in the past. We've seen these requirements happen.
But it's about all of the above. There are certainly Detroiters who can do the job.
Wait, whoa. Sean Till speaking, brother.
Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I love my brother Todd Perkins, but I agree with you.
He loves you too.
Nobody who should be talking about it is talking about it, right? So people are talking about. We talk about it all the time. Me and my husband, my neighbors, we talk about it all the time. Actually, the council president is one of my neighbors. We haven't talked about it though, but
I don't think they talk.
But I-375 was announced as being this reparative, restorative project because, I won't say that, but you can say it again. My mom is in the audience, so I can't say BS.
No BS News Hour. Hey, tune in.
But if it's really about being restorative and reparative, you can't do that by destroying the neighborhood that's there now. First of all. Second of all, there should be a real plan, a first right of refusal for any families who were pushed out, whether it was housing, whether it was businesses. There should be a first right of refusal as a part of the development plan for all of the families who were destroyed and impacted to build I-375 when it came. And we need to make sure that this plan is in place before they start. People keep talking about, well, we're going to start and then we'll figure out how to use the land. No,
I didn't ask about 375.
But I'm talking about economic
Wait a minute, please.
I'm talking about money.
asking about the fact that we could slide back into insolvency in a year and a half.
Absolutely.
May I address?
Please.
So we may have not talked about it because I don't talk. I do. I just want to make sure I say that. I don't talk.
So what have you seen her do? I want to know what you did. What are you doing about I-375?
So let me just say.
Let the candidate respond, please.
Let me just say, I have been involved in that project, bringing stakeholders together, meeting with impact business owners and residents, and I agree that we have to ensure that people that were impacted have right of first refusal. There's a lot of people who do not support I-375, and we have to have some tough conversations about what that looks like. Moving to the question about revenue, which we really need to address. The city's budget is overall $3 billion, half of it, 1.5 is general fund dollars. We have to start looking at how we diversify our revenues. How do we bring more revenue into the city of Detroit? You talked about downtown Detroit. We have a DDA district, which captures all of the revenue that comes downtown, and it can only be used back in that area. That is a problem because that money cannot go back into our neighborhoods. So, no, let me finish. Excuse me, let me finish.
Please let the candidate finish their response.
So let me just finish. What I have proposed and what I have been talking about and trying to do, it does take changes in state law, is that we create a local sales option tax or entertainment tax so that as individuals are coming down for games.
More taxes.
Listen. It's about capitalizing on the economic activity of downtown Detroit to fund infrastructures, home repair grants, all of the various issues that we have in Detroit. And so it will be well and thoroughly studied. We don't want to have any detrimental impacts on our residents, but the idea is we have to be innovative and creative and explore different ways to bring revenue to Detroit, understanding that the federal government and the climate has changed.
This is the second panel we've had.
We need more, yeah.
We've heard a lot of, we need more revenues. No one has said anything that needs to be cut. what could we cut? We're spending $3 billion. It doesn't help people.
The reality is,
Listen.
As a CEO, and really the only self-made CEO, I've had to make those decisions of laying people off. And doing that hard decision, waking up in the morning and determining what budgets, what departments are going to have to overlap and retrain individuals and find them opportunity. That's a reality that exists that no one wants to talk about. But again, as we're in the seat, and people who have had the seat of power and are now changing direction on what they're going to do now, you can't trust that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's what you have to understand. I've been consistent for the people all the time, and I'm going to be transparent with them, and I'm not going to promise you something I can't deliver. As a lawyer, I can't do that. As a human being, I can't do that. And as somebody from William and Shirley Perkins, they wouldn't allow me to do that.
So, and the one thing I will disagree with Todd on, you're not the only self-made CEO on this stage. So everything Santil Jenkins has gotten, she worked for. And I have been a CEO successfully for over a decade and at a nonprofit where you're often trying to figure out.
Santil, you do mention that. I mean, we saw revenues take quite a tumble, from before you started to the end there.
From before I started where to the end?
Thaw.
No, that's actually not true at all.
Till now.
No, that's not true at all. That is
it's true.
absolutely not true.
It's true.
Thaw is more stable today than they've been in their 40-year history and providing more services than they ever have. And in the last 10 years, under my leadership, Thaw provided more than $100 million in assistance to keep people's lights on, their gas on, their water on. We were keeping people healthy, safe, and warm during COVID, making sure they had drinking water in their homes. So,
James, I'm assuming you pulled the 1099s?
Well, I have a whole lot
You got the 1099s?
Yeah, it's from the 990s.
All right,
What I have to say about-
let's talk about
We'll post them on the website.
Please,
You can
yes,
decide.
let's talk about it.
Since
what
they brought it
I
up.
have to say about
And,
Brandon.
I got a
we've
question.
gotten a 4 out of 4 star rating year after year after year for the fiscal management of Thaw
Danette, I got
under
one
my
for you.
leadership.
I got one for you. This is same wheelhouse, but new. Since you're new, and we're just meeting each other. So Mary talks about the DDA quite correctly, in my opinion. And the way it works is they borrow money, raise everybody's taxes, give the money to the developer, and then the people get stuck with the bill. Now, the question. That's exactly how they're going to fund this, whatever it is, Renaissance Center deal. Do the people of Detroit need to give Dan Gilbert $100 million for a plan we don't know nothing about?
First of all, I believe that millionaires and billionaires should be able to take care of their own.
What are you, Bernie Sanders?
Okay.
Millionaires and billionaires.
Millionaires and billionaires, you take care of their own. Second of all, that you can't borrow your way out of debt. Okay? Third of all, if you don't have a mayor that's going to come in here and bring revenue back to the city's going to end up in the same shape that it's in now.
But how?
Okay.
We keep hearing,
How?
but how
What
are
I'm
you going
talking-
to generate
just
new
like-
revenue for
wait
the
a minute.
city?
One, just like the blight. Under the Kilpatrick's administration, I called his office. I told him, reform the trash pickup. That helped the city out tremendously in that time frame, okay? People were complaining about that. They don't even complain about that no more.
Renaissance Center is the question.
Okay, wait a
Should
minute.
we be doing it?
Well, we got to get our trash picked up.
Should we be giving a billionaire $100 million?
No. Now, he can borrow it.
Mary, question.
He can borrow it, but not giving it to him.
Okay, Mary, question. This is the financial.
Quiet, please.
Were you not on the Riverfront Conservancy? Were you on the Riverfront Conservancy? Okay, so somebody's not being watched and 40 million's being stolen.
That's right.
Okay, so what is the Riverfront Conservancy? Who owns the riverfront? And why is a guy
That's right.
What is a Riverfront Conservancy, first of all?
So it is it's managed by the Conservancy, a nonprofit. It is owned by the Conservancy itself.
It's owned by the Conservancy?
Yeah, from my understanding it is, yes. And
The riverfront?
Yes, it's managed and operated by the river. It's a
property,
nonprofit. It is a
the property
nonprofit.
continues to be owned by the city and the state.
Hold on, wait, really?
The Conservancy takes care of the property.
So let me finish, though. You didn't have to interrupt.
They'll work it out. They'll work it out.
I will say that I think all of us were displeased and upset at what happened with the Conservancy as it relates to that.
Council President, you were on the board.
I'm on the
Is that not an oversight role?
No,
not
at all, not at all.
But which is to say it's symbolic, right?
No.
It's you're on a board. It's a ceremonial.
We are yeah, in some regard. That is correct. We are appointed to numerous boards as in our positions, right? And so it somewhat can be. And I don't want to say ceremonial, but yes, we are. But again, what happened in that situation, I do not take any credit whatsoever. And I don't think Matt Cullen or none of the leadership should. But I think at the end of the day, we have to continue to invest in our riverfront. We want to make sure that we maintain that as a world-class riverfront in our city and ensure that the growth and the progress goes back into our neighborhoods, which I have always and will continue to advocate for.
Okay, let's hold on. One thing about the riverfront, because we talked about this, yeah, let's talk about that, because the riverfront and the last couple events have been shut down in terms of access by Detroiters. So they weren't even able to get there for the fireworks. So it doesn't really belong to the residents of the city. And if we're investing in it and we're building it up and celebrating it, but we can't get to it.
But but I understand to not take credit. You know, if it happened under my watch, I'm going to accept that. I'm going to be accountable for that.
Your responsibility, that's right.
It's my responsibility as a board member and to hold everyone else accountable who's on there. And that's just what we do. In America, we're a country of second chances. And if I own it, then we can move on from there. But if I don't own it, that says something about the quality of leadership or lack thereof that I'm going to provide. I'm going to own
exactly
that.
Right. Yes.
And it happened under my watch. So yeah, I'm disappointed in it. I think everyone in here is disappointed in it. But also, you mentioned some things about what is the Riverfront Conservancy? Is it for Detroiters or is it not? It seems as though that it's not. Because if you go down there and you want to be at certain events, you're excluded from them. That should not happen.
Council President, last year the Riverfront parks were closed during the fireworks, so VIPs could go to Belle Isle. Detroit residents couldn't go to the riverfront parks. What's going to happen this year?
So, and I'm not sure if you recall, I pushed back on that strongly. In fact, as soon as I heard that the parks were closed, I personally reached out to the chief and we made sure that any miscommunication that was relayed to the public was changed. And so all of our parks should be open and will be open. They do have a time that they close, normal times at 10 p.m. All of our city parks close, but they will be open. And we have ensured, and I will continue to ensure, that we do activate more of our city parks, which I've always advocated for. And will continue to do so.
Will we have restrooms there?
Okay. Here we go. I'm going to change
we have
that.
restrooms there?
No. I got this one.
Okay.
Because you're the expert.
Okay.
Because now we're talking about the budget of the city, but you got to talk about the budget of the people because every household is a corporation within the city. All collectively makes the city. Speaking of utilities, 200,000 families. Whenever you hear power's out, 200,000 customers, that's double it. You double it because there's 2 people in a household. 400,000 people lost their electric service because they couldn't pay it. 50,000 of them are in Detroit. The water rates are going to go up 5%. Electricity went up 5%. They want another 11%.
Yes, they are.
You know the big boys, and that's what they are in the utilities. How are you going to fix it? Because we're dying.
Yes. Families all over the city of Detroit and the state of Michigan are dying every day because of the utility burdens in their house. So and I'm going to answer the question. Thank you. but there are 2 things that we need to do. One, everybody in this room should have the number of the Public Service Commission because that's who determines whether or not DTE and Consumers Energy can increase your water rates. The Public Service Commission is appointed at the state level, not the local level. City council members don't appoint them. Mayors don't appoint them. They don't control your heat and electric rates. That is a state issue. Water rates are absolutely within the control of the city.
That's right.
My last vote on water rates was no. I voted against increasing the water rates in the city of Detroit. So we have to continue to maintain our infrastructure. We have to...
Please let the candidate respond.
You're right. I gave many families assistance with their water bills as the CEO of the Heat and Warmth Fund. And I'm very proud of the work that I did there. So thank you for that.
Let me ask this.
And
Can I say this?
And I also...
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, go ahead, all three of you.
What I'm going to say is,
You better fight him for it.
It sounds like you need a lawyer right now, and I'm the only one that's a lawyer. And
No,
here,
we don't.
what people
No, we
people
don't.
need to understand is that you can lobby and you can use your influence. And as a mayor of
need
the
a common
largest city
sense
of the city
mayor.
of
Yes,
Detroit,
you can.
you can use influence in Lansing so that other $850 million that they're trying to put on us right now, you can stop those things with influence and with law. And you can stop those things by filing an action. If people understood this. See, I write the ordinances that
So I
people
would hire
adopt.
Ty.
Thank you so much. But again, that's the process. But one of the things, you can also influence them by talking to these CEOs, because you're going to have you're going to talk to them one-on-one. You're going to use and expand grant programs so that you have the heat and warming funds to expand those so that people who are most in need, that we can get to them right away.
So
Absolutely, the children. It starts with the
It's all
children.
about the
So again, what it's about the law.
The
And
thing about the
understanding
water rates
Yeah.
is,
So
when I
that's
ran
it.
for mayor last time, I was in the Detroit newspaper.
How'd that work out?
And hey, it worked out pretty good for me. It can work
Gee,
out pretty
Mr.
good.
Duggan, you look totally
Yes,
different
it
in real
did.
life.
Yes, it worked out good for me. I came the top female in 2017. You know, so hey, against Mr. Duggan with no money.
The mayor's name has been mentioned.
But what I'm saying, back to the rates of the water rates and electricity, I suggested then that we have a program put in place, which they did put a program in place under COVID. But we have to continue to have our water, because a water is not only a need, it is a right.
Absolutely. Let me ask you guys this. Let me ask you guys this.
Can I respond just real quick to
Yes.
water?
Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, just because I've done a lot working with water advocates here in the city of Detroit. There was an income-based water affordability bill that Mother Joanne Watson at one point had authored. I tried to continue that bill at one point. There was a lot of legal issues that prevented us. But right now in Lansing, there is a statewide income-based water affordability bill that we're trying to get passed that will allow assistance for people who cannot afford their water bills. Secondly, how can we hold DTE accountable? We don't set the rates, but we can ensure that they're providing more programs, more home repair grants so that people can fix their homes for insulation, weatherization, and things of that sort to help reduce their bills. So there is some accountability that we can
already
provide.
started a statewide water program.
So
How much? The first one funded by the state.
Here we go.
I started.
All right, can we
I
get
also
the candidate
worked with the
response?
Attorney General's office to ensure that the last time rates were increased, there were more grants and programs funded for low-income families who could not afford their bills.
I got the last word on it now, because we're moving along. Am I correct when I say that DTE's profits increased 44% last year?
Yes, it did. Yes,
40?
it did.
Yes.
There's your answer.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. All right,
But-
Matt, go ahead, Karen. Karen,
But
with
why
the...
did it take you to say that?
No.
All right, let's talk a little bit about population, because we have seen the city's population decline over the past 40 years. The current mayor said judge him by an increase in population. True to his nature, he was losing the game and changed the rules in terms of the methodology. So we ended up with, what did you say, Charlie? 6,000
6,000.
mostly non-documented immigrants, but nobody's talking about the 40,000 plus black residents that have left the city. Talk about what you can and will do to retain black residents and residents here, as while attracting new residents to the city of Detroit.
so
There's a
here's-
quality of life issue, but I mean, and I kind of a little bit, when you're talking about the things, when we talk about grants and helping people, let's talk about the other side of that, of being able to provide the resources to help people be able to provide for themselves, as opposed to fueling them. No, not you personally. I'm just saying in general.
Well, we can't
Here's
do
what
that.
you're going to have to do. One of the things is, I think it's inaccurate to say that it's 40,000. I think it's in upwards of 80,000 since 2013. I'm concerned about why those black people left, because the complexion of the people that left is in a higher percentage than if anyone else is us.
I don't
We're the
think
only
they
ones
left.
that we are the only ones that
I
left.
think they were moved out.
Now the ones that are coming in, I guarantee you, the ones that are coming in don't look like me. And so in higher percentages. So the growth has been a seismic shift.
If I might interrupt,
Yes.
the whole point is nobody's moving in. It's all a charade.
It
It
is.
was
It
all
is.
mainstream media
That-
horseshit.
that's why
no
Cooper
one's
left.
here.
Well, there's
Well,
600.
they say
There's 640,000
They say
people.
12,000.
Excuse me, but you know what I mean.
You know that. You know
I
that.
understand. That's what they say.
But they are wrong.
What I like to
understand
say
that.
about is we can't keep doing business the old way in the city of Detroit, okay? And the residents are suffering because that's the way our city has been continuing to be ran. And what I would do, first of all, to help make Detroiters stay, because they cannot keep up their properties, okay? Whether they're old, whether they're young, whether they're middle-aged, and whether they're living in Indian Village, Boston, Edison area, okay? Their houses deteriorate. So what I would like to do, I would like to come and sponsor city insurance for deterioration of the homes, okay? That covers your roofs, your gutter system.
The budget's no money.
Well,
No money.
I understand, but wait a minute. Wait a minute. I understand that you don't have no money, but
you cannot fund does not work here.
Okay, wait a minute.
How you gonna do it?
How I'm gonna do it?
Yeah, I bet
Because
you are.
I can be, I'm an independent, okay? And how I'm gonna fund it? The citizens, we're gonna fund it.
How we gonna fund it?
The citizens, we're gonna fund it.
So
It's time to be independent citizens of the city of Detroit.
May I respond?
There are lots of reasons that
Mary,
people
Mary, let's-
are
It's
leaving
time.
the
It
city
is
and
time.
not
It's
coming
time
back
out for
into
that.
the city.
Guys.
So
There are lots of reasons that people are leaving the city or not
Yes,
moving
yes.
back into the city.
Yes.
One of the biggest reasons is that people feel that they don't have options for schools in the city of Detroit.
That's one of them.
We do have some good options
Do we
for
have any
schools in the
parents on
city
the
of
panel?
Detroit.
Any
We
DPS
don't have
parents?
enough.
Oh, okay.
Not DPS.
We don't
Not
have
DPS.
enough.
So I just really quick wanted to address the idea of losing population and losing generational Detroiters. Can you all hear me? Or my
Yes.
the microphone is not. Can you hear me? Okay. So I think we have a myriad of issues. Number one, we know property taxes are extremely too high. There was a huge overtaxation situation that took place in Detroit where $600 million worth of overtaxation. Now, I didn't just say, oops, my bad, we made a mistake. I challenged the fact that we were told legally that we could not compensate residents, right? So once we were told that, I went back to work, created something called the Affected Homeowners Program, which is in place now. And then lastly, let me say, I am the only one to date that I have heard say that I am willing to go to Lansing and create a program that would allow for residents who were overassessed to receive a tax credit on their bill in the amount that they were overassessed. And that would be phased in within 5 years. So let me say this. We have spent, why do people leave? There has been so much attention on downtown,
They're
midtown,
leaving.
on attracting new people, but there has not been enough. No, I have not. No, I have not.
Listen.
I have created, what have I voted for? No, you haven't given me an example. Give me an example. Give me an example. No, I haven't. So,
Guys, we have.
let me just finish this comment. Let me finish
Go
this
ahead, go
comment. Together we will. Together we can.
Guys, we have
It's time for us
four
to
veteran
rise and
Detroiters
shine.
on stage.
Yeah.
If I were to say make Detroit great again, when are we talking about?
Make Detroit great
people.
again.
Making the people great.
When was it?
You said
First of all, I would say Detroit's always been great. There are definitely things about Detroit that need to be improved. But the greatest thing about Detroit is the people who live here, who've stuck it out, who've stayed no matter what. So every time I hear somebody talk about we're a comeback city, it burns me up because we never left. We never left. The fact that others now think it's cool to be here doesn't mean we've come back. They've come back. But we never left.
So here's the
Make
thing.
Detroit
One of the
great.
things is
Detroit
I'm not
great.
going to use that statement, make Detroit great again, because we all know what that means, right? Because Detroit is a great city. It always has been. What it has been is the displacement of us having a seat at the table. And that's the problem with Detroit. There's
And
been
a
so
lack
much
of
opulence.
leadership.
There's been so much growth. There's been so many things that are happening. But if I ask these people who are angry out here, what do you feel like you have a voice in this city? There'll be a resounding no. Just like she's shaking her head right now. And And that man right there.
Well, let me do it.
pointed out
Do
there-
you feel you have a voice in this
First
city?
of all, no. And I am the voice for the people.
And that's
It's
why
time for
that's why
us
my
to
campaign
rise
is called
and
Purpose
shine,
for the
Detroiters.
People. It always has been, I always will be, and I will continue to make sure that neighborhoods will have their seat at the table. Absolutely on the east side and the north end.
I'm born and raised on the east side. Lifetime
Absolutely.
resident.
Absolutely. The east side has been
Everybody
forgotten.
in Detroit deserves to live in a neighborhood that is safe,
One at a
that
time.
is thriving,
Voice.
where there is housing that is affordable for everyone. Everybody in Detroit, east side, west side, southwest side, north end, everybody in Detroit deserves to have a neighborhood and a community that they can be proud of.
So for me, I think also a part of the conversation is that, and I've spent 12 years of my time on council addressing the social issues in Detroit. We have too many people in Detroit that are living in poverty. And so for me, the issue also about how we make Detroit great is how are we creating upward mobility, similar to what you're saying. It's not just about giving grants and resources, but how are we raising the income levels of Detroiters in Detroit? So my mission and my goal is not just to judge me based on growth and population, but the quality of life of the residents that actually live here. And together, Detroit, we can, and together we will.
I mean,
first of all, people talk a good game.
All of that is well and good. All of that is well and good.
Please,
But
quiet down.
hold on. So I go back to what I said. To say that I'm going to do something differently now when I voted for and adopted a policy and plan that of another individual is a plagiarized sense of leadership. No, you're going to come in and try to change positions and change what you're going to do now, what you didn't do, and as a city grew and these people got forgotten. That's what the problem is. No, you got to go with something new. You have to deal with someone who understands what it is to be a CEO. I've been a city attorney. I've been a city attorney in 2 cities. I've done budgets. I've been doing the work. When you're talking about doing something good and you don't need to take credit, I stand in the shadows, but I've been doing the work.
So it sounds like a lot of talk. I have been, one thing that I've been doing, let me just say really quick, one thing about me is my position has never changed. The residents in the city know, can I finish talking? Todd.
How many votes? How many votes has she been against Duggan when it counted?
Together they can, together they won't.
Together we won't.
Hold on.
Together they can, together they won't.
Hold on. I want to
When
ask.
it comes
Listen.
Wait a minute. I want to ask a
candidate
question.
the respect
Did you
of
or
letting
did you not have any type of contractual engagement with or for the Detroit City Council as an attorney, and did that end when you filed for the city for mayor?
Well, I haven't had any work since I filed.
No. I'm trying.
But my contract's still in place.
My question, because I'm
contract
concerned
that I
of
got.
were you eliminated from doing work for the city or the city council because you have filed for mayor?
I haven't gotten any more calls.
Okay.
I haven't gotten any more calls.
Okay.
Did you get whiteballed?
I can't say. I don't have that. As a lawyer, I only speak with the facts, and I don't have the receipts.
Well, and
therefore I can't
asked
say.
that
Guys,
question because people don't always understand the backdoor workings of politics, and there are deals that are done, and people know.
Yes.
Even council. You two, Fred, have been on council. You guys get back in the chambers, and okay, I'm going to vote this way, and I'm going to vote
That's
this
right,
way. And
that's
I'm
right.
gonna
They sell the people
Hold on,
out.
Miss, please. I'm the one that's going to look good, and we'll take the fall, and the residents are the ones at a disadvantage, and that was the reason why. I
Yes,
asked.
they are. And we're tired of that.
He asked
Karen,
me.
I will tell you, when I was on council, whatever I said in my office was the same thing I said at the table. I wasn't in my office saying one thing and then coming to the table saying something different. And anybody who works with me will tell you that.
Mary, I want you to respond to that. But I got to ask something to you because, hey, excuse me. No. I had to pay for this shit, so let me do it. I haven't forgotten that you were the city council president and the city went into bankruptcy and you resigned. Why?
Actually, the city went into bankruptcy as I was coming into city council. If you recall, in 2009, when we were elected, we were going into a consent agreement.
But 14. Why?
And in 2014, when I left city council, we were coming out of bankruptcy. As a matter of fact, My last day at City Council was November 7th, 2014, and it was the day that we announced the plan of adjustment had been adopted and we were exiting bankruptcy.
Your work was done.
Yeah,
is what you're
the
saying.
hard work was done.
The hard work is done. Time to move on.
The hard work was done, and the table was set for all of the things that now people want to take credit for. The table, we couldn't have done the things that have been done if those tough decisions had not been made.
That was directed at you. You want to respond?
Santil, you've been criticized for your departure as an elected official to join the nonprofit. A question would be, what is going to prevent you from abandoning another elected position? If you were, that's not a negative question. That's just a legitimate question because people want to know.
Look, it's a real question, and I've been asked it before. First of all, I've never abandoned anything. I've never abandoned this city. I've spent my entire life grinding for this city. My first job was at Focus Hope at 17 years old, and I've been serving Detroiters since I was 17 years old. The most vulnerable populations in this city have been my focus my entire adult life, and that will not change. When I left City Council, I was leaving one of 9 seats. The city did not stop. There's one mayor. I would not run for mayor and then leave. That would not happen.
James, I want you to add. James, I want you to ask about crime, bro. Please.
Thank you.
Absolutely. If we have 2 problems in Detroit, it's schools that don't teach kids how to read, and then people who can't read who commit crime. How do we fix these?
Well, first you start early. First you start early with crime prevention, and you start early with getting to those kids. But the city, although a lot of people who are in power, the current mayor oftentimes says, I'm not in control of the schools. But he's not an ambassador for those schools. He's not a cheerleader for those schools. Now, we take these rec centers that we have that are opening up, we need to supercharge, and as you say, level those rec centers up with technology, with tutoring, with access to mentoring, and access to internet. You do those things, and you also create an avenue for them to get workforce training through Michigan Works, Focus Hope, and working with those schools and those public-private partnerships that will access those kids at an early age so that kids understand there's a pipeline, whether it be to college or into a real career. Not a job, but a career. As it relates to crime, I don't think anybody on this panel can talk about crime better than I can. And here's how I understand it. I understand from talking to the kids on the street corner to the guys in the boardroom. I speak both of their languages, and I'm the bridge between them. And those are the public-private partnerships from those boardrooms down to those street corners that I intend to do in a neighborhood plan that develops for each district, because it's not one size that fits all for public safety. You can agree, you're going to police Gratiot and 6 Mile differently than you're going to police Sherwood Forest. And that's the point.
Yeah. Yes. So we need a plan for each of the 7 districts. That's part of the strategic master plan for the whole city. But that plan should include education. It should include safety. It should include public transit. It should include housing. And yes, the mayor should be working directly with the schools. You know, more gets done when you don't care about who gets the credit. You don't need to control the schools to work with the schools. So we should be investing in our Detroiters from cradle to career. Our after-school programs, our summer job programs should all be creating pathways, career pathways for our kids.
First of all, I stood in. I voted for the school district to rename the schools the Detroit Community District. I also stood up for, I would do tutoring for the students in class, okay? And also when it comes to crime.
Please quiet down.
Crime happens in many areas, okay? I would stand on gun control. Guns should not be in the wrong hands of certain people, okay? I'm not talking about taking guns from every individual, but we do need to have some stricter gun laws. And one issue that I will stop the drive-by shootings, I would at least try to. That's very important.
How?
Wait a minute, how? There is no law transporting a firearm that's not legally registered. That's
Okay.
one thing.
Let me do this, Mary.
But we don't.
Whoa,
can I-
whoa,
can I
whoa,
just
whoa,
address-
no, whoa.
address the schools
I got
really
something.
quick?
No. Look
That's
here.
important.
Here, look, here, look.
Go right ahead.
One column here is what the police report is a homicide. The other column is what the medical examiner ruled to be a homicide. What happened to 300 people, and why did the police fake these numbers?
Yeah. So.
No, that's for Mary.
Yeah. So I couldn't tell you why they fake numbers,
don't we
but what
have
I can tell you is that accountability and transparency is extremely important.
You know, we don't have
the
a
board.
dashboard.
The board of police commission is one entity that we have to better empower to ensure that we have more accountability and transparency.
Nobody's running for it. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did notice
Nobody's
that. I did
running
notice that.
for it.
I also noticed
So the
that
mayor gets to appoint the whole
during
thing.
the bankruptcy, their powers were completely removed. I was the council member that actually reinstituted the powers of the Board of Police Commissioner to ensure that we had proper oversight of DPD. Now, as it relates to gun violence and crime in Detroit, we know that most of us have in some way been impacted by gun violence, whether it's directly or indirectly. And every time we lose a child in this city, it is devastating and it tears the very fabric of this community. I take it seriously, and we have to do more about it. And so we cannot police our way out of gun violence. I will support DPD, increase community policing, ensuring that we are building stronger partnerships and reducing response times, but we have to focus more on prevention for our young people. Partnering with
that was on my campaign in 2021. That was on my campaign for 2021. That's why I came third.
Let the candidates
That's why I
speak,
came third.
please. Quiet down and let the candidates speak.
That's why I came third for mayor last time.
So
for
here's the
prevention of
thing.
crime.
So you mean to tell me that I'm city council president and I can't find out why those numbers are fudged? I can do that as a lawyer. I can send in a Freedom of Information Act request and get that information as a lawyer. So to tell me that I can't call the chief of police down to my chambers and my office to do that, that's
me
an
just say
abandonment
this.
of leadership. That's an abandonment of what that
right
accountability
here,
and
we've been
transparency
left
is.
out.
And so,
It's nonsense.
and I understand
It's
that the administration runs the
It's
chief of
nonsense.
police,
Out,
but there
ladies and
is some
gentlemen.
ability that you can make them accountable. That's it. I mean, that's one
It's
thing.
a lot of rhetoric
I
and
cannot-
not
Wait, hold
absolute
on.
nonsense.
When
Absolute
we
nonsense.
when we talk about crime,
Please
I mean,
quiet down
I
and let the
have to say,
candidates
I've been here
respond.
all of my life, and I see new Detroiters doing things that I'm not comfortable necessarily doing, and I'm not afraid of people. They're pushing baby buggies, they're running at Mac and Bewick, and drinking lattes, and I'm thinking, do they know something I don't know? We live in two Detroits. What are you doing? Is that what we're looking at? Two Detroits where black Detroiters live one way and white Detroiters live another?
three
Or
Detroits.
do we coexist? What does that look like?
What's
It's
the
three
three?
Detroits. It's three Detroits. It's the Detroiters that have been forgotten. It's the Detroiters that are the haves, and then there are people who are in Detroit that make their money in Detroit and live somewhere else. That's the three Detroits. And those two Detroit, and again, so what you want to do is you want to pay your attention and pay your resources to those areas that have been most neglected, that have been most forgotten. And you tell those people that I'm here for you. And
Like
once
where?
you
Give me an
Pardon?
example. Give me an example in the city
Brightmoor.
that needs.
Brightmoor, the east side. Yeah, the east side. That's where I live on the east side a lot. I spend my time in people's homes on the east side. The east side is forgotten in a lot of respects, and for various different reasons.
So, Santil Mary, name briefly an area in the city of Detroit that has been overlooked or that has been forgotten.
Oh, I can name multiple areas that feel like they've been forgotten.
Not
Certainly,
feel like, I mean,
certainly
areas that you've driven through and you say, there's no development here. People walk up and down the street. We've got streets that have maybe one home or none whatsoever.
Yorkshire. There, Cody Rouge. There are many areas in Cody Rouge that feel like they've been forgotten and neglected.
Yeah, I would say there are several areas in Detroit that I believe have been neglected, primarily our neighborhoods. But when we also talk about our neighborhoods, we have to talk about our commercial corridors, because those are the veins and arteries into our communities, and they have been completely neglected.
That's right. We need to have people.
The businesses can't thrive without the community.
We have to have critical mass in order for commercial corridors.
They're just passionate about it. Go ahead and finish, please.
I mean, I was trying to finish the topic, but one of the reasons I think that what we have to do is make it easier for businesses to open up shop in Detroit, to open up these amenities, these grocery stores within our community, right? And so we have to continue to invest to incentivize development in our communities, in our neighborhoods. I was proud to create the Neighborhood Beautification Grant, the Neighborhood Improvement Fund, which has geared millions of dollars back into our communities. And I will continue to do that as mayor. It doesn't have to be one or the other, right? And it does not have to be one or the other.
Are you talking about the Community Reinvestment Fund for the banks?
No, I'm talking about two programs that I created.
Okay.
Both gearing money back into our neighborhoods directly to block clubs and organizations who have received it to beautify
I call them junk gardens.
All right, where do you grocery shop in the city of Detroit?
In my neighborhood.
No, that's not telling me anything. Where do you grocery shop?
I grocery shop at
Give me the name of a store.
On Jefferson and
on
Lafayette
Connors,
Foods.
on Connors and Warren, on Gratiot and Van Dyke.
Van Dyke and
Van
what?
Dyke, Van Dyke, Hopper. Gratiot and Hopper, Farmer John. And I also shop at the one on the boulevard.
Okay, that's fine. Where do you shop, Mary?
So it depends. I go to the Co-op on Woodward sometimes. Okay. I go to Myers right on Jefferson. I go to the Lafayette one right there on Lafayette. Sometimes I go to Myers off of 8 Mile.
Okay.
It depends, right?
Okay.
Or the neighborhood grocery store, Raphael Wright. We got to support him as well, too.
Okay.
But, yes, we need more grocery stores in Detroit. Without a doubt, we have to continue to address the
Todd,
food
where do you
deserts that we
shop?
have.
Co-op, Whole Foods, and I'll be honest.
You don't
it's
shop, Todd.
Let me tell you something.
Yes, I do. Ask my wife. I shop.
Let me tell you something.
All right,
He's a gross pointer.
Okay.
He don't shop in Detroit.
Okay, last question.
Last question.
Last question. First of all, thank you all very much.
This is the last question, very serious.
This is our last question. Thank you all very much for being here. We do appreciate it. But the last question, the same that we asked the last panel. If you were not on the ballot for this mayoral election, who on the ballot would you vote for? Mary. Now, I talked to you. Okay, Santel. Okay, that's fine.
Who? Santil Jenkins just got it.
Santil, who would you vote for? One word.
I hope she don't sell me out.
One for Todd Perkins.
Well, I can't suggest anyone but myself.
I know, but
You're
you
not
have
on
to.
the ballot.
That's the exercise.
So I don't.
We let you up there.
Who would I vote for?
That's on the ballot. Who would you vote
Nobody.
for? So you
wouldn't vote for I'm an independent. I'm an independent.
You have to. You have to.
No, I don't.
You okay? Then you get off.
So that's self-serving, Mary. If you had to vote, she
Go
said
on.
she wouldn't vote. That's
You forcing me to answer?
Yes.
No, you can't force me to answer. No,
Give me the
no,
microphone.
no. Here. Oh no. I'm an independent. It's time to replace the old with the new.
Talking to me?
No.
So you don't vote?
Yes,
Mary?
I do vote, but I don't have to vote for candidates that
All
I'm
right, you got
disinterested
nothing to say.
in.
All
That's
right,
enough.
Mary, who would you vote for?
Are we allowed to write in names?
No, on the ballot.
Yeah.
On the ballot.
On the ballot.
Ms. Simpson, are you on the ballot? Yes. You are on the ballot? Yes. I'm Todd Perkins.
Todd Perkins. All right. All right.
Thank you.
Even though you were pretty cruel to me today, Todd.
That's a wrap. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you all for coming.